Yeah, somebody's always watching everyone nowadays. It is 1:35 here on 570 News. Thanks for being along. A claim by a Squamish, BC woman was largely rejected thanks to social media. This is the case of Sarah Tambosso, was involved in 2 car crashes, said her life completely changed. She said she was depressed and that her only friends were online. She actually told a psychiatrist that her life sucked and that she wasn't a very happy person. However, the defense in this particular case put forward hours of video surveillance and almost 200 pages from her Facebook account showing her in numerous social settings, drinking, having fun with her friends. The judge approached that social media with caution, but still ruled that she exaggerated her injuries and emotional distress and awarded Tambosso $36,000 in damages. And Rob Deutschmann, personal injury and disability lawyer, joins us on the line. Good afternoon, Rob. How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing very well. Is it true that more and more personal injury cases are turning to social media for evidence across Canada?
Eric, your life's an open book.
Yeah.
Completely. Online, everywhere. Yeah. There's a lot more requests being made for people's Facebook postings and all social media postings. Twitter, you name it. Insurance companies are investigating all avenues, and it's an interesting situation, interesting dynamic that's happening. And at the end of the day, it gets down to credibility.
I got to tell you, it's a little bit worrisome because I don't think that somebody's picture online tells you the whole story. I mean, from that perspective, Robin Williams had a hell of a life, didn't he?
Right. I mean, hey, look, we can all talk about going under the covers of a lot of people's lives, right? Your neighbors or whatever. And what you see and what is reality are two different things. And that's basically what happens. When you're making a claim for injuries arising from an accident and saying so-and-so caused this harm to me and now I can't do certain things, you've got to prove that. And basically it's like you've got to walk the walk and talk the talk. Is your life carried out the way you say it is? And that's really what it's all about, testing your credibility. That's what's happening.
Now, isn't there a bit of shouldn't we be careful here? Because this can kind of act the other way too, right? I mean, if I'm injured and I'm not really that bad, but I'm posting pictures of myself lying on my couch, unable to move with a neck brace,
right.
Couldn't you go the other way too?
That's right. You're right. It can. I mean, there's a lot of things. At the end of the day, it comes down to the individual. When you meet the individual and they're telling you about the injuries that they suffered and the effect it's having on their life, we all sort of develop that gut feeling. Do we think we're getting the straight goods from the person or not? And then what we do is we take a look at all other aspects of their lives to see if it fits with the story that we're hearing. And private investigators or Facebook postings or social media postings are all part of just filling that narrative and seeing if what we see about this person fits with what we're hearing this person telling us.
In this particular case, the judge said that, you approached that evidence of social media with caution.
Yes.
So are judges still saying, okay, obviously that doesn't tell this whole story?
Well, that's the big thing, and they look at the courts approach all evidence with caution, because even if you looked at medical records and you asked a doctor, does this person have chronic pain? The doctor will say, yeah, they do, and you'll ask the doctor, why do you say that? And the doctor will say, well, because he or she tells me that. Right? Because they're relying on the credibility of the person. So similarly, when you're looking at a picture, like you say, the picture doesn't tell if the person did that activity and is suffered for it the next day. What sort of pain levels are they going through? So that's why it's just part of a bigger picture. And it's the same with private investigator and videotape surveillance. They'll show people actually doing things, but they may not see what happened to the individual shortly after that event. Did they have to lay down for a while? Did they have to take pain medications? So there's always that caution that the courts exercise. And like Eric, it's not just a judge. In our system here in Ontario, you're going to predominantly have a jury. So it's 6 of your peers. So it's like going down to your local Tim Hortons, picking the first 6 people you see. As much as you know about them, that's how much you know about your jury here. And they're going to have to make a decision about what they think about you.
So is this a good thing then? I mean, should this kind of evidence be able to be presented in court? I mean, Facebook evidence, is this a good thing?
Well, I'm not sure how to answer that. I mean, look at if someone is claiming certain injuries and claiming they can't do things, and yet it's showing that they can do these things, then certainly you should be entitled to test a person's credibility. If you're the one being sued, you want to have every opportunity to test the evidence or credibility of the person that's suing you. So I mean, it's a two-way street, right? I only act for people that are hurt, but I'm sure I can find a lot of defense friends out there who act for, who defend people who are sued in accidents are going to say no problem with any of this.
Well, sure. Look, if you're claiming you have a broken back and you're, on a ladder fixing up the roof of your house, and there's video surveillance of you, or a YouTube video or whatever, that's one thing. But what about when it comes to the intangibles like depression? I mean, just because someone has a smile on their face on their Facebook profile pic doesn't mean that they're not depressed.
Right, and that's why you have to take a look at the totality of the information that you're seeking. Is it relevant? So, for example, and that's a good point. I mean, people that suffer from depression, chronic pain, mild brain injury, your friends, your family members will take a look at you from time to time and wonder what's wrong because they don't see it. And so that's why you have to take a look at the whole big picture. So if someone is saying depression, I'm depressed, if they give an extreme answer like I'm housebound and it's showing them out socializing, then that's a clear-cut situation. But again, you've got to weigh all of the elements. We're talking about the easy ones. It's the gray ones that are really hard to assess.
Do people need permission to collect all this information about you, or are they just, Facebook, what's out there is out there?
Look, and that's a good point. There's this whole privacy issue, but there's decisions out there where the courts have said, or arbitration tribunals have said that, look, if you have 350 Facebook friends and you're posting that stuff out there, there's no expectation of privacy in a situation like that. If you have a Twitter account, and a lot of the kids, have flipped over to Twitter accounts. A lot of my younger clients use Twitter accounts, and anyone can follow you on Twitter. So there's absolutely no expectation of privacy. So what you put out there in those circumstances is certainly fair game in the public domain.
And how often is it happening? I mean, how often is this kind of evidence being presented, do you think? Is it skyrocketing in terms of...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
I just came back from a discovery today. One of the questions that was asked is, do you have a Facebook account? And the other side asked for disclosure of the material on their Facebook account. The position I take is we'll take it under advisement because we want to determine whether the request is relevant or not. So it depends on what my client is saying about their level of activity versus what's being disclosed. The other interesting thing is sometimes you'll post pictures where you're with a group of friends, right? And so your friends have allowed you to post this picture on your site. And what's the expectation of privacy with respect to that? So now you've got these third parties who are involved in these pictures and suddenly become part of your claim. So it just starts to expand the number of interesting privacy issues legal issues and principles that you start to have to consider.
A lot of aspects to this, Rob. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Interesting area, and all the best. And hey, and watch out for who's watching you.
Will do. Thanks again. That is Rob Deutschmann right there, personal injury lawyer, disability lawyer at and Deutschmann. So a claim by a Squamish, BC woman has largely been rejected. That is thanks to social media, Facebook to be exact. Sarah Tambasso was involved in 2 car crashes. She said her life has completely changed. She was depressed, that only her online friends were aware of how she really felt. She told a psychiatrist that her life, quote, sucks, and that she was, quote, not a very happy person. However, the defense put together a compelling piece of evidence, obviously hours of video surveillance and almost 200 pages from her Facebook account showing her in numerous social settings, drinking, having fun with friends, etc. The judge approached that evidence with some caution, but in the end still ruled that she had exaggerated her injuries and emotional distress and only awarded Tambasso $36,000 in damages. She was hoping for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So more and more personal injury cases are turning to social media for evidence across Canada. Here's my question. Well, first of all, first question comes to mind. Should insurance companies be able to use surveillance, online postings as evidence? And I think most people would agree, well, yeah, if someone is exaggerating the stuff, they should have the ability to do that and defend themselves. But here's the bigger question in my mind. Can social media be used as an accurate representation as to how someone is really feeling? If you have a broken back, and that's what you're claiming, and you're on a ladder, well, you're probably lying. But if you're depressed, that's not tangible. And a picture of you smiling on your Facebook page, I mean, is that really an accurate representation of how you're really feeling? By that token, Robin Williams' life seemed to be going pretty well. I'm using that as an example because, well, he's a comedian. He loves to have fun. He's joking around. We all know how that ended, right? Extreme example. But I don't think it's an accurate representation of someone's life. A couple of pictures, even 200 pages of Facebook. People put only the best stuff on Facebook. Facebook is a highlight reel. It's not fair to assume that the person's life is going great because of Facebook. Facebook is a highlight reel. Can social media accurately paint a picture representing how someone is really feeling like?